Thanks for covering it, ZN Madness. You've checked off all the Twitch boxes now. Alright, after an extended wait, we finally have a new series, and thanks, Denver, for immediately cheesing. In the bottom left, going for a 12 pull, it is the Blue Zerg Denver. Top right, as the Red Protoss, we have Harstem going for a Pylon Scout. Something that a Zerg player going for an early pull would have to expect. It's possible they go for a Gateway Scout. Not as likely, I suppose, but a lot more Pylon Scouters. But the idea is maybe still just get it under your control. Harstem will have to respond to this. We'll have to do something to it. And you can start to control the game. Now, if the probe had just actually stayed here and then assumed, oh, I guess he took the third base, then never scouted the main base, well, that's on Harstem. But Harstem's no dummy. Gets into the main, sees the pool, blah, blah, blah. Gonna go for Cybernetics Core before Nexus, changing up his plans, as I said, a little bit here. Really go for the full wall off. Sees the hatchery he's taken. He saw no gas in the main. He's gonna go for the full wall off here. I mean, it is certainly a safer way to play. Pulling the probes to help out the Zelt that will eventually come to make sure your pylon doesn't die and you die in a really embarrassing way. There's another option. There's the Chrono as well. I'm actually a little surprised he went for the second gateway. His probe did not see how many more lings were on the way, and this is the safer way to do it for sure, but I wonder if he could have gotten away without it. Maybe not. Yeah, I take it back. Definitely go for the second gateway. With 2 gateways and thus 3 or 4 units. Nice block on the little entrance there. You do also have the ability to counter. Try and get some revenge for whatever damage they do end up doing to you. In this case, the damage, is that you had to build a wall and you delayed your Nexus a significant amount. But now that you have to deal with Adept and Zealots, it's like tit for tat. I think he went for a 4th Adept and decided not to. Yeah, okay. But still, 2 units coming forward. Going to be able to take out the Lings. Denver, as I said, controlling the game a little bit, but Harstem looking very comfortable in making these split-second decisions. Thank you, Iced Coffee, for the 2-month resub. Then the community asked for bans before matches, and then when hero pools came around, they were like, we'll take it. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure what happened is that they were like, are there going to be picks and bans like MOBAs? And Blizzard said no, because we don't have enough heroes. And that has been the same response for the past 4 years. So I don't believe the community was really asking for picks and bans. They were actually, that was a legitimate, like, agreed upon suggestion by a lot of people to do hero pools, but believe it or not, Blizzard can be wrong and the community can be wrong. I know, it's very shocking. Harstem following up with some Resident Glaives. The Overlord of the main base will see this, since no Stalker was dedicated to stopping it. Robo will finish to provide a Warp Prism as well, and 2 Adepts continuing to just try and do some harassment. Get some scouting done. Everyone knows what everyone is doing. When is something hard alcohol? Above 10, 12%? Something like that? No, not 40%. Beer and wine is available in our grocery stores. It's a strange wall. Oh, I think it's the correct wall. Yeah. Adept numbers have been seen. Denver was already preparing for this. Is building roaches now. Having a couple of lings to help kind of stick those adepts into place so they can't maneuver too much is always nice, but not the real kicker to defend against this. The adepts have the shade ability after all, so any hold on their movement is temporary. Spore crawlers are on the way. Perhaps expecting the DT follow-up, which we saw Mana do earlier today, so definitely worth considering. But he can't get a double scout into the main to see that, and he does not have a lair on the way, so better safe than sorry. As the Adepts will not be... This isn't like defending an Immortal Sentry all in, where like 2 drones and 150 minerals might actually be the death of you. Adepts are harassments, even though they can be game-ending. And much more frightening would be DTs warping in with no Spore Crawler, so... Yeah, you go ahead and do that one. Weirdly enough, you would usually see Spore Crawler main and third. Against any DT play. And then main and natural against Oracle play, but... Okay. Repositions. Also helpful sometimes against the Archons that can follow up that, stop them from getting into the mineral line, or just straight up any Warp Prism play. But that's kind of a side effect. Adepts are just taking the opportunity to pair up with an Observer. They have not been dedicated to. Harstem warping in sentries back at home actually to take his 3rd Nexus, which Denver forcing out a couple of force fields and grabbing one of those sentries, almost both of them, would have been nice. Is he paying attention back at home? It looks like he is. Warp Prism denied, but oh no, Adepts in the natural. 6 drones go down pretty quickly. 7. And the drones over at the 3rd base could also be going down here. Harstem starting to make something happen after no drone kills, going up to 9, 10, 11. Warp Prism still alive. Denver thinking, okay, harassment's mostly done with. I'm good. I'm Gucci. Not so much. 16 drones go down in total here, and that is actually really good. 17, that last Adept. She threw that discus, and she got a kill. 17 drones. Ouch. It looked so promising in the beginning. It looked like Harstem had actually given up on doing the attack, but then the Warp Prism came into the main, the Adepts did their shade thing, and sucks to be a Zerg. Infestation Pit was thrown down, and it felt like almost in vengeance. You adept me? You adept me? I'm gonna swarm host your face. But we don't see a Nettis Worm quite yet. I would assume that's his plan. I would assume. I don't see it yet. Warp Prism's still alive, although weak, has a lot of room to maneuver back here in Everdream. So 2 more Adepts come in. Those were actually stockpiled, I think, in the Warp Prism. Not even warped in again. They get dropped off, and they get 10 more drones. Oh my god. No. Adepts are so good. Adepts are cool, you guys. The push... Okay, so he is going to go ahead and push. The Warp Prism was saved after all, so it could be coming forward. There it is. I saw your shadow. And a fake one. Oh, Harstem, you have such a wrinkly brain. That's pretty cool. The fake Warp Prism is going to draw a decent amount of roaches to the main. Now, not all of them, because, you know, that's not the main attack. He knows that much, but still enough, while actually having reinforcements over on this side of the map. Corrosive Bile is not available fast enough to save those Ravagers that were force-fielded into Harstem's army. And straight up, regardless of the cool Warp Prism play, Denver just simply did not have enough. He took too much damage. He went for an infestation, but they didn't really end up helping him. He had 16 more roaches on the way, but they weren't ready when they should have been. GG. Harstem, I mean, he dealt with the early pool really fine, and that was a, you know, okay, did you that really do what you wanted, Denver? But then the Adepts went from doing nothing and being like, oh, a couple of creep tumors to getting, at the end there, 27 kills, I think, 29. That's a lot of kills. Apollo's being so cute and patient. A full Laverne. Laverne. What does that mean? Game 2 on Nightshade. Top left, it is Denver Bottom right, we have Harstem. Harstem looking very strong in that last game. You know, the Adepts getting the kills that you would expect and then some after a bit of a delayed attack, I guess. And then really nice macro behind it, getting that third nexus well-timed, protecting it just enough against the Lings Denver sent across the map. And having a very swift follow-up. And then the cool hallucination in the main. Although I will still say that, ooh, Denver's doing something tricky again. I will still say that even with like 6, 7, 10, 12 roaches that the Warp Prism distracted, Denver would not have ended up holding. Would have been closer, but I don't think it would have held. Yeah. So I point out that he's doing something tricky. You see a hatchery first, you might be like, is it tricky? Is it though? It is. It was a 14 hatch, and then a trick, right? Anyways, into 16, 16, or 17, 16, 15, 16. With the drone being built, it was close, all right? The funny thing is that, well, if a probe only goes into the natural and says, oh, hatchery, I don't need to care anymore, and pulls back, it's very successful at being deceptive. But for really good players, like, we are talking about skill levels where you do start to count drones. You do start to click on gas extractors and say, oh, that was built 20 seconds later. Pretty small details that I think really were honed in on in some of the builds from the earlier expansions, but maybe not as much here. But if Harstem was really keyed in, I think there would have been an awkward number of drones mining. No strong response, of course, in the early game, because you don't have to strongly respond to this. More so maybe afraid of like a big Ling swell, but that's going to happen later anyways. It's more of a matter of not just letting Lings into your main base. Denver, certainly with that hatchery timing, don't have to worry about a pro block. Kind of mentioned that. But it does end up going to a third hatch. And no Supreme Cheese. Double Chrono Stalker this time coming out. Only a handful of Lings. Harstem going to take out one Ling. Conservative way of using your Adept Shade here as well. And he will be looking for that scout into the main. Coming up next. Robo also on the way pretty quickly for Harstem. Sand and Deaths are great, man. They just remind you to be healthy, too. Which is nice. So the early hatch and pool and gas timings don't really end up mattering here. Resonating Glaives again for Harstem. Did so successfully last game. Stalker would actually be able to go to the main now that the Adept is back. And Harstem saw what he needed to see. Third hatchery and not a lot of Lings. Didn't see the saturation, I guess, but still. Needed to see what he did, and he did. Stalker, as I said, can now, swap these swapsies and try and stop the Overlord from scouting, but a bit too late for that. Now, it still did very good damage last game after being thoroughly scouted. So I don't know if he's that worried about this one, but if you get to Stalker, I mean, I think you kind of hope that you can kill the Overlord. Oh, well. Warp Prism, Resonating Glaives, pretty obvious to Denver at this point. Roachborn once again on the way. He had the preparation. He just didn't have his units in the proper positioning. Everdream also proving to be just kind of an obnoxious map for that type of stuff. We see a lot of that 4-gate, 3-gate blink. Oh, thank you very much. In that PvT matchup, we've seen that a lot the past couple of days. And then, you know, in PvZ, we saw how much the Warp Prism can abuse that bottom left corner. But on Nightshade, it should be a little bit different. And Denver might actually be a little more aggressive about how he handles the Adepts as opposed to just letting them stand around his creep. But it is difficult. Oh, I didn't even notice that's what he was doing. Oh, clever. This is what Cyril did against Zest. But he actually ended up losing the game, I think. And then he lost the series and everyone was super disappointed. But that is very nice. Taking away at least one option of the Shades. And they can still choose between the main and the natural. And the Warp Prism could still get into the main base. But it'd have to go, you know, far away from the main reinforcement line. So, yeah. There it goes. Thank you, Danmo Gaming, for the 5 gifted subs. So many gifted subs! Thank you. Oh boy. I haven't been over 500 subs in a very long time. It's actually really cool. About 150 of them are gifted subs, but... It's been years, maybe, since that's happened? Good thing that wasn't tequila that I took a shot of, otherwise I'd be crying. Crying juice, man. Depth's not going to take that chance of shade. Not a very good shade there, for sure. Warp Prism not getting a chance to get any more warp-ins or Adept harassment, but... Oh, this is, sounds familiar. Depths aren't doing anything. Depths are just cooling up the creep tumors. Oh my god, Danmo with the 12 gifted subs to the community. Does everyone have a subscription badge now? In my chat, can we need to check on the subscription badges here? Thank you very much, Danmo. Harstem still being fancy with his Warp Prism and his Adepts, but as I pointed out from the last game, still getting that macro going, still chugging along here. And in this particular game, didn't even have to worry about protecting his third base. His sentries are safe, his third nexus is safe, his Adepts are still alive. Very annoying for Denver here. And he has gotten a decent number of Immortals to protect himself if Denver were to go, you know what, screw it, and go across the map. As Adepts in a straight-up fight aren't too reliable. Harstem just not stopping, man. Denver has done a much better job defending this game, though. That much is a fact. Not nearly as many drones. Not really any drones going down. So much better. And is not eager to pull the trigger and go, okay, you failed. Because it's not really a failure here from Harstem. And go into an attack. But rather trying to just go in for a macro game and keep his head down. So +1 melee, roach speed on the way, and a decent number of roaches. As I do expect he wasn't just concerned about the Adepts, he was concerned about the follow-up, which Harstem is prepared to do. Does not have a +1. He almost has Blink. Third base not quite fully saturated. Denver, having confirmed this with Overlords dying, an unfortunate supply block for him, has started to make Ravagers and Lings, but not too many. And he's not making any Overlords that I can see. Harstem's about to help him with that problem, however. Perhaps might just go for the fourth base. Big easy cancel there. +1 pretty close to finishing for Denver, but on the melee. Not too many Lings here to take advantage of that. Thank you very much, WikiLeaks, for giving the sub. 2 subs, actually. Much appreciated. But we are in the thick of things. Ravager cut off from its buddies. Stalker almost, but Blink is available. Warp Prism very safely tucked in the back, and Immortal now joining the fray as well. Denver, I mean, he saw this move out as soon as it moved out from the natural, but that supply block was pretty nasty. Especially when it came to making those Ravagers, which are pretty important to holding an attack like this. And just in general, Harstem having a strong attack, man. Corrosive Biles take out the Force Fields, and Force Fields maybe starting to run low after these ones. Still quite a few. 1 full sentry for a Guardian Shield as well if he needs it. Warp Prism is still alive and not being touched whatsoever. Melee's done, and Denver is working on a +1 missile. I think he's fine. I think Harstem is totally fine what he's doing, controlling the map here, canceling that fourth base. But I do believe Denver's going to be okay. And in fact, Denver sneaking off a couple of roaches, a surprising move from a Zerg player in this situation. Either it's Lings, which are dealt with easily with Zealots, or it's nothing. So for roaches to come through here was a little bit surprising indeed. I don't know what happened there. It looks like maybe the AI saw the Stalker and went, let's go kill that. And he was definitely cut off, AI'd almost. You can certainly get AI'd to death in this game. It's not Brood War, but it can still happen. Fourth base is going to be under a bit of attack. Nah, not even going to bother with it. So that should be rising up here, actually being saturated soon enough. Harstem trying to get on to better things here is going to storm his own +1 as Denver now has an upgrade lead for both types of his army, but the Adepts in the third base. Ooh, that is nasty. 6 drones already killed. Do we have a sub off? Is this a subscription off? Thank you, Demo Gaming, for the 5 gifted subs. Jesus, guys, like, if we get to 600, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. If we get to 600, what would I do? Someone tell me. I can't even fathom it. 10, 11 drones going down. Adepts still being pesky. Denver, though, with a maxed out Zerg army, looking to still get a decent attack, but I'm afraid those upgrades don't matter as much as Harstem having just a decent army composition, and now he's soon to have Storm. You just need to warp in a couple High Templars. I don't know about this, guys. Denver, basically all in, despite being on 3 bases at 47 drones. 4 bases, actually. Not really. Definitely not. Harstem also denied 4 bases, but at least his 3 base saturation is true. Storm is available. He had already warped in High Templars. Why do I doubt this, man? Fool. I am such a fool. Storm's Guardian Shield, Immortals. All that's missing is a couple of Archons, I guess. That'd be a perfect army. Denver is desperate. He has not cleaned up the Adepts or the Zealots or the Warp Prism. He knows how all in this is. He has to try, but it's just simply not going to work. Even the Stalkers with +1 are proving to do a lot of damage. And Harstem feeling so confident here. He could have waited. He could have just let the economy die out. But he didn't. So, yeah, that Adept build, pretty spicy. I gave it a lot of credit when I was casting mana in the beginning of the day, 6 hours ago.